different facts of different cultures living in one area
Living in one area. Okay, so we can't say that
as
about the
one.
Proud Boy. So are they a white only? Are you saying that they are a white only group?
I'm not saying that they're a white only group because not just white people can uphold white supremacy, right? Like there's like a lot of examples of non-white individuals that have been indoctrinated into like for an example anti-blackness, so on and so forth. That then will turn around and argue in explicit support of white supremacy. Personally, I don't understand like what level of indoctrination leads somebody to think this particular way, but there are many examples, unfortunately.
Okay, I agree with that last part, but I would personally say that those people are frauds. Okay,
Like
those
why?
people
Like
are
this
frauds.
is so crazy that like now I have Trump
Okay, I
supporters
found it.
legitimately
I
defending the
found a
Proud
bunch of
Boys.
quotes.
No, well, dude, I just
Like
agreed with
this
your
is
last.
like
I
bro, it's
agree
like
with your last
Hey,
point.
nuts.
I'm just saying, I found a bunch of quotes of Enrique Tarrio, and the leader, saying he denounces white supremacy to its fully extent. That's a quote that he said. You can go look it up.
Well, of course, because they're not going to say
Mm.
they're white supremacists.
Oh,
They'll
so now
just
they're
be white
hiding it.
supremacists. You know, they'll
So
just
you're
say
saying
that
they're
they're against.
secret?
Well, it's not secret at all, but it's thinly veiled in the same way that neo-Nazism is thinly veiled. So, like, in the same way that you'll find many
Uh,
Nazis that say, oh, there are only 271 Jewish individuals that were killed in the Holocaust. You know, like Soviet Russia planted a bunch of fake evidence that led to the drastically incorrect numbers that we see today. You know, Hitler wasn't really as bad as people describe, you know, or they'll just throw the 1488 in their bio. But then when they're explicitly asked, you know, do they think Hitler was a good guy? They'll say, no, 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 I don't. You know, like this
it
happened to
also
me just the
says
other one moment. This happened to me just the other night with some flat earther I was debating. I was debating some flat earther. I get a text saying that this guy's a Nazi. Then I just straight up ask him if he thinks that Hitler was a good guy. Then he says, "Oh, I absolutely condemn Hitler and I stand with Judaism." Okay, but then when I get off my live stream, I get sent a screen recording of his Twitter where he's straight up saying Hitler was a good guy and shit like that. And, you know, like this is just the way that it operates with a lot of modern hate groups because they know that explicit pro-Nazi, pro-white supremacist rhetoric, as in saying, I am a white supremacist, doesn't really fly. You know, instead of saying, I am a white supremacist, they say that they think that the West is the best. They say that they think there's a great replacement theory and genocide of white people. And they say that multiculturalism and diversity is a disaster. You know, they
so. Yeah,
often
everyone's
quote the
lying. They're just liars.
55% statistic. They'll say that black people are inherently violent. They'll say that a lot of the issues that we have comes from the introduction and integration of black people into society. They'll talk about the Somalis too. They'll talk about the undocumented immigrants as a whole, saying that we should just stop all immigration into this country. And like none of this is kept a secret, folks. Like I debate people on a daily
But you're
basis
wrong
that
about
uphold
the
these
Proud Boys.
ideologies.
You're wrong.
Like this is just simply something that they believe. And no, I'm not wrong about the Proud Boys. And my
You
evidence
are,
is the
though.
fact that when I asked you to go find me a clip where somebody in the Proud Boys
I found multiple.
endorses multiculturalism and diversity, you couldn't. You just found somebody in the Proud Boys that said that white
Their
supremacy is
official
wrong.
statements
So you
on their
didn't even answer
website
the
says
question.
they. Can I read their official statement from their official website?
Yeah, where
How
where they
describe themselves?
explicitly endorse multiculturalism and democracy and denounce
They condemn
the Great
all
Replacement
forms of
theory.
racism. They condemn all forms of racism. It says there, nothing is about color, is about uniting America, not dividing America. So you're just wrong. That's
Okay,
not
great.
what they
So
stand
you
for.
still haven't answered the question then, because I asked you for a source where they explicitly endorse multiculturalism, diversity, and condemn the Great Replacement theory.
Why would they endorse a great replacement? What?
Okay,
You're
so
gonna
you
kick
are a
me
Proud Boy.
because you lost.
So you just said that multiculturalism was a great replacement. So you just told us that you believe in the Great Replacement theory.
I said a great
Wow.
replacement. But the
Wow.
word great
Okay.
replacement.
Okay. All right. Yep. All right. All right, folks. Yeah, he was just one of the Proud Boys.
Look,
Yeah, dude.
look,
Push
I'm not.
listen. Push came to shove. Okay. I asked him, show me the sources, demonstrate where they endorse multiculturalism and diversity and condemn the Great Replacement theory. And then he says, wait, why would they condemn why would they endorse the Great Replacement? So then he went on to say that he actually does think that the Great Replacement theory is true, and then he went on to condemn, he went on to then condemn multiculturalism and diversity as well. I want to make this point clear, okay? People who do not condemn the Great Replacement theory, i.e. the notion that white people are being quote unquote genocided by non-white people and replaced with them in this country, are white supremacists. People that condemn multiculturalism and diversity and think that racial diversity and a multicultural makeup of our nation is a bad thing that hurts us are white supremacists. That is what white supremacy looks like. That is an example of white supremacy. So, the reason why that guy was denying that the Proud Boys, were racist or white supremacists is because he's a racist white supremacist himself. But now that we've gotten on and moved on from the racist white supremacists, go ahead and tell us why you support Trump as president. We'll start from the top. I want you to tell us why Trump is good.
All right. Well, I'm not a white rape replacement guy. Okay, I disagree with all that. Okay, but anyway,
do you agree that that's white supremacist ideology?
Yeah, I agree with you. That's wrong. Okay, I think there are people on the right that are completely wrong. They need to get that racial stuff out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy that we could agree that guy was a white supremacist. Now go ahead and tell us why you support Trump.
Okay, so earlier you were calling Trump a rapist on your stream.
I was.
Do you agree that all juries and all judges make the right decisions all the time?
No, I do not agree.
Okay, so do you think that this was probably politically motivated?
No.
Okay, well, I happen to believe that it's politically motivated, okay?
Okay, well, you have to be very specific with the argument about political motivation. Okay, because something can be politically motivated in the sense, like, i.e. Alvin Bragg. I think that Alvin Bragg's prosecution of Trump for his 34 felonies was politically motivated, but it was politically motivated in the sense that this guy was president and he could be president again in the future. And because he holds and wields so much authority and power, Alvin Bragg wants to ensure that he's being held accountable for his transgressions upon the law. Therefore, because of the political power in which he held and in the political power in which he might hold again, he is going to prosecute him for his 34 felonies and give him his due process and inevitably help to find him guilty in a court of law. Okay, so that's like a variant of political motivation. That doesn't mean that the outcome of the court case is wrong. So you have to argue here that not only was it politically motivated, but the political motivation corrupted the evidentiary standard, and in all reality, this guilty man is innocent.
Yes, I do believe that. So here's why I believe that. One, there were no witnesses in this store that they were in, okay?
How often are there witnesses to rape?
What? Oh, yeah,
How
sure.
often are there witnesses to rape?
There can be. I mean, they said they were going in a mall together, an empty mall together, though. They were going to an empty mall. Okay, well, how many witnesses would be in an empty mall?
Okay, for sure. Can I ask you this? Well, if it was empty, none?
Well, if there were there could have been security guards. I don't know. But again, there were no witnesses that came forward and said that they saw them enter this building.
Sure. If it was empty, I wouldn't expect anybody to see them because it's empty.
Yeah, it's empty, but however, that's what they claim. That's what they claim. But I'm sure that there would be security camera footage. There would be something to prove
in the 90s.
Yeah, the 90s. There were security cameras in the 90s. There were black and white
security cameras that worked off of VHS tapes. And when they were done using all their VHS tapes, they wouldn't throw them away or put them in a stockpile. They'd record over them.
Sure. But who goes into a store?
Can we agree that there wouldn't be? One moment. Can we agree that it's incredibly probable that we wouldn't have like all the security camera footage from an empty mall from the 90s, considering the fact that, yeah, sure, they'd record it on VHS, but then they just re-record over it? Like, certainly at some point within the following 23 years?
Sure. But if that were the case, then he would have gotten another charge for, destroying evidence. Can we agree on that? Like, hey, that'd be destroying evidence, wouldn't it?
Okay. First and foremost, no. Trump wouldn't get a charge for destroying evidence because Trump didn't own the mall or operate the security camera equipment. And then second of all, also no. People don't get charged with destroying evidence when they're taping over a VHS tape that they don't know contains evidence of a crime committed.
Okay.